I thought I'd show some differences in the original Gillette plating of gold versus the newer platings. You can see on this blade bank a little reddish discoloration. This is the lacquer that they applied over the top of the soft gold plating that they had, and all that has to come off. You see the inside has got it really thick. All that has to come off before the polishing can begin. This is 1,000 grit silicone disc. So this makes it, this protected the gold. Let me show you that. So you see that the lacquer's still on there. Where the lacquer was thin, it started to come off. So that's protected the gold for, oh, well, in this one, almost 100 years. So I'll show you what it takes to take. I don't take them off with this. I'm just showing this for an example. So you really gotta you really gotta get on it to make it come off. So in normal shaving, normal handling of these razors for the years, the gold plating has, you know, lasted, but started looking bad because of the lacquer getting old, the tarnish underneath the plating and everything like that. It held up pretty good until that lacquer comes away. This is out of that same set, so you can see where the lacquer's pretty much gone everywhere. Okay, so now you saw what it took to take that gold plating off there. That's the brass right there showing through. So now I'll show you on this what it takes to take that gold plating off. Okay, so that is the brass right there. The plating came off without even any effort. If we look at this side, this is just normal wear. You can see where that's starting to come off there, but for the most part, that's just a real thin, and I say it's kind of chalky. As I'm taking it off, it just kind of flakes off. So that is all gone right now. There's no gold plating on that whatsoever. Now the bottoms didn't get as much wear as the tops. So I'm going to show you on that. So that's a little bit thicker plate right there. It still comes off pretty easy. Okay. Now this is a piece that I did, and I had a little spot on it, so I'm going to redo it. But I just thought I'd show you the difference. Okay, so this has got the new plating on it right here. So I'm going to do as much pressure as I did on that last one. Okay, that plating is still there. And what we're looking for is the nickel to come through. On these, I'm finding on the old ones, there wasn't a nickel plate. They plated the gold right over the brass. Nowadays, they've learned that, you know, that brass can tarnish through the gold. That's what darkens it up. So they put a nickel plate on. A lot of people do a half minute to a minute nickel plate and then gold plate over that. I do a full 4 minutes of nickel beforehand, and then I do my gold. So I'm going to really get on this now, kind of like I did when I did the lacquer. Okay, you can kind of see the gold plating's still there, but it's starting to get cloudy and a little bit of nickel showing through. Okay, there's still gold plating on there, but for the most part it's nickel. And there we have it all off. So that was quite a bit of effort to get that off. So in normal everyday wear, if you're cleaning with a toothbrush and Dawn dishwashing liquid to clean up the razor, you're not going to really wear it off. If you're taking and hitting it with a rough towel after you're done shaving and really scrubbing on it with a dry towel, eventually that's going to wear off. But for the most part, with the 29 micro-inch gold plating that I'm using, that puts it a little bit more heavy than actually having lacquer on it. And that's one of the reasons I don't go for the lacquer. If there was, for some reason, the plating would come off within the 6 months, it's all guaranteed, and I'd redo it again. But I have not run into that yet. So that's a pretty good example of the newer gold plating compared to the original Gillette plating. One other thing I wanted to show was this is a black tip that I'm going to do in gold, and it was very heavily pitted here on this surface. I'm able to get that down and get those pits out of there on the tops and on the accessibles, but on the bottom you can see where this has got some pretty good pitting still right there. It's nice and shiny, but that pitting is noticeable. See if we can get in closer. Okay, in an instance like this, I'm going to leave some of that pitting, because if I go any lower on the diamond logo, that logo's going to disappear. If I went any deeper over here, what is that? Gold. The patent, or the Made in USA, is going to start disappearing. So I only take it down as much as I feel it needs to give it that shiny mirror look, but to retain some of the integrity of the original razor. This will be a nice daily shaver. It won't be a mint condition collector's piece, but it'd be a nice addition to somebody's collection. But there's some places you just can't get into, or the razor's just too far gone to do anything. Normally I would do one like this in satin, which is going to mask that pitting look. And that's why you'll see the satin sometimes. But this one had such a nice top here, and the heads were really nice. The guard was really nice. The only bad spot on the razor was here, so I chose to do this in the shiny mirror look, and then get this as best as I could. I'll show you one more thing. So this is a head, and for the most part, that when you're sending that in, you say, well, it's nice and smooth. It's just got some plating loss. Okay. And the way pitting works is it works underneath the gold, underneath the lacquer, underneath the nickel. So this razor really didn't look that bad before the old plating came off. And the only thing holding it together, giving it a smooth look down there, was the nickel plating. I'll just give you an example of that here. You see how easy all that gold came off. Now, when you look at this, and I don't know if you can see that, you can see all kinds of little tiny scratches that are going this way, so it didn't come from my rotary tool. There's little tiny pits, little dings. There's some pitting right there. Pitting on a picture on eBay or Etsy will really stand out like that. And sometimes it's dust will make it look like that, but it'll be a different color. That's a really good example of that. So there's two or three pits right there that are really standing out. So that's underneath. So where you think you might have a nice smooth razor, once we start getting into the underneath, it really starts showing up. This one I noticed has some. That came off really easy. There's some highlighted out right there. Some scratches. So the question comes, how far do we sand that down without changing the integrity of the original surface and the original angles and everything? And I'll take, maybe a micro inch at the most. But for the most part, this is a nice smooth surface, and the sandpaper was going to leave little tiny micro grooves that are deeper than the 1 micro inch that we're trying to take. So sometimes I'll evaluate and it might be just as well to leave some of the pits if they're not real deep, and buff them out as much as you can. So sometimes that's why you'll see a head that's might have a few imperfections in the surface. They're a lot less than they are right now. There's about 30 or 40 in here. If I can get 25, 28 of them out of there and still retain the integrity of the piece, that's all on a per razor, per condition basis. To say every razor is going to go back to the exact original condition is kind of ludicrous. You have to take them one at a time and evaluate each one as you go. So hopefully that helps you understand a little bit about the gold plating and the surfacing of these anywhere from 70 to 100-year-old razors when we try to bring them back to life.